Good morning. Welcome to the 17th day of April 2017, the day after tax day. This is Freeway Bible Study. I'm your host, Kurt Bell. I'm a non-believer, yet I like to study the Bible. So today we're going to do Genesis 24, Dinah and the Shechemites. Now, let's see if I can remember Shechemites by the end of this. And the Shechemites, come from the name of one of the characters in this story. Don't fall down like yesterday. Camera was falling down yesterday. I guess the name is Shechem. And then, there we go. But as soon as I get on the freeway, it'll stop falling over. And so anyway, we're continuing to follow the life of Jacob, who is now reunited back in the land of his father, Isaac. He's out there with Esau. Although they've kind of gone their separate way, we had the whole incident back at the Jordan where Esau and Jacob met, and they had a happy reunion, so-called. I mean, we think it all looked good. And then they've kind of gone their separate ways. Esau's gone back to his home, and I think he thought that Jacob was going to follow him, but I think Jacob gave him that impression. But Jacob appears to have settled in the land of the Shechemites, who at this point are basically I guess it's the father of Shechem, right? That really is the head, he's the king. So Shechem is the prince of the land. So the story, this chapter 24 opens with Dinah, who is Jacob's, apparently his one daughter, via his wife Leah. Remember, Leah and Rachel and their slave girls had a few chapters back had a baby making war, like an arms race with infants. Pow, 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 one after another. God was opening and closing the wombs of the various women. The four women closed this one, sealed this one, opened that one, depending on who he liked best, and all this kind of stuff. And we ended up with a lot of sons. I think it was 13 sons and one daughter. And I thought it was noteworthy that daughter was pointed out earlier in the chapters, but we didn't get her name. But now we got her name. It's Dinah. Remember the old song? Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah, strumming on the old banjo. Bink, bink. Well, I think that's where Dinah comes from. The biblical Dinah. So anyway, Dinah, they've settled in this little land. Remember, Jacob, who's now Israel, although nobody's referring to him yet as Israel, he's still being referred to as Jacob. It's funny, because when God changed Abram's name to Abraham, immediately the Bible began to refer to him as Abraham. And now that God has changed his grandson Jacob's name to Israel, there's no mention of that. Although it does mention that the house of Israel in this chapter, but it doesn't. But Jacob is now called Israel. I don't know. Anyway, so he's decided to buy. He bought a patch of land for a bit of silver, and now he's set up house there. And he's got a lot of stuff still, even though he gave a bunch of it to his brother. And Dinah, his daughter, has decided that she's going to go out, mosey on out, and say hi to the womenfolk of the land. So she does that. She leaves and goes out and to maybe go to the well or something like that to kind of. She's a sociable gal, so she's going to go make some friends. Hold on. Have a drink of water here. That's something in my throat. I think that's what's making me not quite talk clearly. So let's have a drink. Something I can't do. So there we go. Still hiccups. Something I can't do on my motorcycle, right? I can't be. But I'm gonna put a cup holder. I'm resolved to get a cup holder on my motorcycle so I can do this. Hiccups. Okay. Bah! Scared myself. Kind of. So Dinah, mosey on's out of the camp. A reckless thing to do, Dinah. You shouldn't be going out unattended. And no, of course I don't feel that way. I'm just projecting myself backwards into that biblical era. When it was a dangerous thing for a woman to go under the field unattended like this. Because sure enough, the worst thing happens. She runs into Shechem, and I guess they're like in a place where there's nobody else around, and he rapes her. Just let that settle in. So young man finds a woman and out unattended in the fields, unchaperoned, unescorted, and he rapes her. Now maybe it's not as bad as it sounds. Maybe it's not as bad as it sounds, because I did a little research and it turned out that back in the day, in that time, so arranged marriage was the thing, and the young man and the woman didn't have much say in who they were going to marry. But there was a way out of that. And that was, if you had consensual sex outside of marriage, even though you brought great disgrace unto your family, families were kind of put in an awkward position of saying, well, no, okay, I guess these two, the punishment will be that they get married. You see how that leads? So it's a way to kind of, maybe like we would do now, kind of elope away if the family didn't quite agree with the marriage. Well, think of John Cougar Mellencamp's song, Billie Jean and Betty Sue, or whatever it was, Bobby Sue and Billie Jean. No, Billie Jean's Michael Jackson, right? Bobby Sue, I can't remember. But anyway, the young man or the woman that run away, and then Billie Jean gets pregnant. You know the song I'm talking about, right? We kind of accept that now, that's kind of it's a kind of a disgraceful thing to do, but it's kind of romantic in a way, run away. And I'm sure when you run away and elope like that, there's sex involved. This was shown in this one illustration, this one bit of history I read, that this might have been a way. Maybe Dinah had met Shechem somehow, and they decided to get married because they knew they wouldn't be allowed to marry otherwise. I mean, we know that the Israelites, now can be called the Israelites, don't want, going all the way back to Abraham, maybe even as far back as Noah. They don't want their sons marrying the daughters of the Hittites or anybody else. They want to marry within their own family. So this is a way out. Now, so that's one possibility, right? Another possibility is that it had nothing to do with that. This was rape, straight and simple. That's a possibility as well. Or maybe the source that I read, which was a biblical source, it was a Christian source actually kind of gave us the third option, which is that Dinah kind of liked Shechem. She didn't want to have sex with him, so she didn't agree to this. He did take her in a way, but it wasn't really rape because she kind of liked him, And they actually used the word rape in quotation marks. I was really surprised to see that, a Christian source saying, well, it may not have been actually rape. And I was like, seriously? Man. I mean, rape is rape, right? I mean, you either, the girl or the man, the boy or the girl, the man or the woman actually consents to it or does not, in which case it's rape or not, if it's taken forcibly, right? That's a pretty open and shut case, right? I mean, no is no. If it's in English or Aramaic or Hebrew or Greek or whatever the language. So, I've dwelled long on that enough. But so, whatever the case was, whatever the reason the rape occurred, Dinah went back somehow. She probably told her mom, Leah what happened. She was probably crying. If it happened that way, well, she would probably tell her even if it was the consensual type, because that's the purpose, right? We need to get the word out so that they'll get married. In any case, it gets to Jacob, aka Israel, who is upset, but he can't do anything about it in the moment because his sons, who are the vehicles for whatever retribution he will take, are in the field with his flock. So he waits. And meanwhile, Shechem has gone back and told his dad what's going on, because his dad shows up before the boys even get back from the field. Shechem's dad, the king, shows up to talk to Jacob, aka Israel. Boy, does this sound like a soap opera? Man. And I guess the boys are on their way back. Jacob's sons are on their way back. We'll continue to refer to him as Jacob as long as the Bible does. When they start referring to him as Israel, then I'll start referring to him by that name as well. And Shechem's dad shows up and says, listen, I know what my son did was wrong, it's a bad thing, but he really likes the girl. We'd kind of like to, smooth this out with you guys and, settle this, and maybe we can we'd like you to give Dinah to our family to wed Shechem. I'm happy to pay whatever bride price you want. You just name it. You got it. Actually, Shechem is with him, I guess, because Shechem steps in. He's the one. So the dad is there saying basically, we want to settle this with you. The boy likes the girl, Dinah. And then Shechem speaks up and says, yeah, and we'll pay any price you ask. Anything you want, we will do. I mean, he's determined to get this girl. And I'm wondering if his dad is like, wait, we don't agree to anything. but they go forward with it, and now the sons have returned. And I guess they've had a chance to talk about it a little bit, and they come up with a scheme, and it really is a scheme. And they say, okay. They're talking to Shechem and his dad now. We understand you like your Shechem here likes the girl. We want her to work something out, but we can't possibly agree to let our daughter marry one of you because you guys are basically you're uncircumcised, right? I mean, we just can't. That's a key to our covenant with our Lord. I mean, you have to be circumcised. So we'll make you a deal. If you and all the men in your village, in your city here, get circumcised, then we'll agree to this, and Dinah will be yours. So Shechem and his dad go back, and they go to the gate of the city, which seems to be, as I've said in previous chapters, seems to be the place where all the city fathers tend to gather. There's like the gate of the city, and then there's like some benches out there, and they're all sitting there, and they explain this. They say, hey, this guy Jacob, he's arrived with all his family and his cattle. He's a pretty wealthy guy. Shechem here, bad guy. He raped the daughter Dinah. And now we got a situation, and I think we've come up with a plan and an offer that they made us that I think works out pretty good. I think they're good guys. Why don't we let them stay here in our community and be a part of us, and we'll marry their daughters, they'll marry our daughters, and all we need and then eventually all that they have will be ours, right? They'll basically become part of us. Our whole community will be enhanced by their presence. All they ask in return, all they ask for us to do this is that we, cut off the end of our penis. Let's get circumcised. I'm sure that there was a hearty debate there, but apparently they all agreed, so they went ahead and did it. So chop, 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 chop. One day they're all cut up and done. Now here's where the scheme comes in, right? 3 days later, and I'm surprised they waited 3 days. 3 days later, Jacob's two of his sons, he's got a lot of sons, he's got 13 sons, I don't know why just two of them, grab their swords. Well, and it says in the Bible explicitly that all the men of the Shechemites are laid up in pain, right? I mean, they just got their end of their giggle sticks cut off, right? So I mean, they're in a lot of pain. They're recovering. They're all laid up, and while that's happening, the two sons of Jacob go through the town and put all the men and boys, all the males, to the sword. Kill them all. Pretty neat trick for two men to do that to all the men of the city. I mean, I think that if the end of my thing was, my tonsil choker was cut off, I'd even if that was the pain, I'd muster the courage to be able to defend myself. But clearly they weren't, and maybe their stealth was good enough, or they got God on their side, and they were able to kill them all. So they killed everybody. Now you don't note that Jacob wasn't involved in that, nor his other sons. It was just the two sons that did that. And they would then proceeded to take all the possessions, all the livestock, and all the women and the girls to be their own. And they now Jacob's pretty upset when he learns what happens. That he's pretty upset. He says, "Wait! That was all out of proportion. I mean, what you guys just did, that's nothing like." I mean, sure, rape is bad, but slaughtering all the men, boys, and infant babies. I mean, it didn't say the infant babies, but I'm assuming that's the case. And we'll see that later in the Bible, where it explicitly says that all the infant baby boys, that's all out of proportion. He says now the Canaanites and the Hittites are going to come and kill us. I mean, the word's going to spread. And the chapter ends with an ominous response by the two boys that said that, you know, that's what they get for you know, raping our sister. And that's the end of the chapter. So it leaves us with a bit of a cliffhanger, right? What's going to happen next? Well, we know that, you know, we know the Israelites are going to survive, so whatever retribution Jacob fears probably won't happen. But we'll find out tomorrow as we continue on with Genesis 35. And thank you for joining me for another day of Freeway Bible study. I hope you all have a wonderful day and make it a great life. Take care. Bye-bye.